We're theme park families.
Theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Won't you join us now?
We're theme park families.
Thanks for joining us, we aim to please.
If roller coasters got you weak in the knees,
We're theme park families.
if you wanna find the best dessert or
Take a potty break with privacy,
find a coaster that is tame for little ones,
or one to make you scream.
we're theme park families.
Everybody's ready, babies.
Rescuing you all from life's drudgeries.
We're theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Press the space bar. Get it?
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew,
And I'm Adam.
and welcome to episode 11 of Theme Park Families. For us in New York, this week marks the halfway point of the school year, which means for some kids down south and in the Midwest, you're well past that, which means coaster season is getting close.
Woo!
That's exciting news as we got closer to the opening of not just all coasters, but many of the new ones.
So did the first half of that school year go fast for you?
Oh, yes. Fourth grade's tough for me, but yeah, it's gone fast.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. And it's moving ahead quickly. And gosh, we're now less than 2 months away from coaster season starting
Yes.
in some parks.
Exciting.
So talking about new coasters opening up, which ones in particular are you kind of excited for 2018?
Well, everybody knows the obvious of the obvious.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Steel Vengeance.
Of course, okay.
It's kind of cool that they came out with their first Raptor tracks, which are Railblazer and Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe in the future, since maybe those are their testing ones, we'll see the T-Rex tracks.
Ah, interesting. A lot of people are talking about that possibility, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then even though we don't live there, the new wooden coaster down at Alton Towers,
Oh,
Wicker Man,
yeah.
that also looks like a pretty cool coaster.
It does look cool. Now, I was surprised when I heard it's a pretty short coaster. It's only about 35 feet tall. They were talking about it on Coaster Radio. It's not as big as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah.
Well, they can only have a certain height there.
Yeah, that's true. Their height restrictions are pretty strict, but I think they can go a little bit taller than that, certainly. But, it's...
That's their choice.
But we know that doesn't necessarily mean the taller the coaster, the better it is. Everyone talks about Wooden Warrior Cossie, which we got to get to at some point. So it's not necessarily just the height. Well, also the other two RMCs I'm excited about too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one at Six Flags of Georgia.
Yeah, the Wicked Twisted Cyclonic with Twister Cyclone. What?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Twisted Cyclone.
And
Twisted Timbers?
Timbers.
It's all so confusing. But yeah, so it's a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next couple months. So we're excited about that. So today we'll be discussing the prelude to our Missouri trip, which was Kentucky Kingdom. But before we get there, let's get some news.
If not riding coasters will give you the blues, it's Andrew's news. Gardaland in Italy announced that 3 new rides are coming, themed to everyone's favorite cartoon, Peppa Pig.
Peppa Pig. Interesting. Well, who would be excited about that?
Maddie, she loves Peppa Pig.
Yeah, did you say Pepper Pig?
Peppa
Oh, it's
Pig.
Peppa. Yeah, she really does. And so, this is interesting. Not one of the parks that you hear a ton about in Europe. Gardaland, I did some research on it, and it looks like a beautiful park. Europa Park and a lot of those you tend to hear more about. But Gardaland looks super nice. So they've got a B&M dive coaster, a B&M wing coaster, an SLC, and a Vekoma Looper, and that could sort of go either way. They have VR on it this year, which, I don't know, for a Vekoma Looper, you might want to be able to see where your head's going to be banged.
Well, Oh, yeah, true.
There was news that the New York coaster, which is supposed to be one of the worst coasters in the world, a Togo, that's brutal. They're getting VR on that, to which everyone says that's insane. Yeah, good that you can't prevent your neck from being broken without seeing where you're going. And then the craziest coaster they have, the most unique one, which I hadn't seen before, it's called Sequoia Adventure. It's an S&S Screaming Squirrel, which is so bizarre. It's sort of like a wild mouse. Instead of going sideways along the track, veering back and forth, it's almost set up like an S&S 40 flying coaster, but you go underneath the track. So it's sort of like a dive coaster where you hang there for a few seconds, and then you loop underneath, and you're going upside down the whole length of the track. Then you go back and forth. What did you think of that ride?
It's kind of crazy. I would do it. They slow it down when they're upside down so much.
So all the blood rushes to your head and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I would travel down to Italy to do some 3 Peppa Pig rides.
Just the Peppa Pig, yeah. We'll see if we could get to media day for that. All right, news story number 2.
Dreamworld in Australia has modified its log flumes by adding a metal cage over the top to avoid people standing up on the ride. This stems from a 2017 incident where a 19-year-old fell out and was run over by 2 boats, but survived.
Yeah, this is a strange story, and I've heard other stories in American parks about people falling out of log flumes, and it's horrible to hear about an accident like that, and thankfully he survived. But it does seem like more parks are going to do this type of thing to prevent you from being able to get up where certain log flumes don't have anything. So it's this really weird contraption that completely comes over you. So you still can get wet. It's not completely enclosed, but it just prevents you from standing up. And in this era of lawsuits, you can imagine a lot more places will do that. Plus Dreamworld, that's that same park that had that horrible accident with the round raft ride that overturned and a number of people were killed in that. So clearly they're concerned about future accidents. So we'll see if some American parks head in that direction here in the next couple of years.
Busch Gardens Williamsburg announced the closure of the Curse of DarKastle, which May believed was coming. It will now become a special event building.
Yeah, so what do you think about that? All those rumors, and sometimes we know rumors are unfounded, but this time the rumors were true.
Yep. Well, we'll just have to watch the video.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. The way I see it, and a lot of people are sad about it because it was such a special dark ride, which we never got to see, unfortunately. But
well, we did see it.
Well, we did, but not the way it was intended. Walking through for Frostbite was not the same. But let's see what you think about this trade-off. A lot of people are saying it was very expensive to upkeep and things were breaking down. But if it means because they're saving money from that budget that the 300-foot ride is a giga, is it worth the trade-off?
No, it's a flagpole, dude.
It's a flagpole. All right. Well, if the plans for the flagpole do get scrapped and they decide to actually build the giga, are you okay with Curse of DarKastle closing?
No.
No. So you'd rather have a special dark ride than another giga coaster?
Well, I would rather them have Curse of DarKastle and a 300-foot coaster, but not the 300-foot flagpole.
Well, because SeaWorld is struggling so badly,
then
they're cutting costs.
Then SeaWorld would need the flagpole. Or one of the SeaWorld parks.
I don't even know if they can afford a flagpole at this point. But yeah, so that's kind of sad. And as you said, we'll watch a full POV now that we won't get to do it just to see what the ride was exactly like. And then finally, number 4.
As of this Thursday, Cedar Point is opening 100 days.
Whoa! Which means now that it is Sunday that we're recording this, we're under 100 days. Yay! So
it's opening today?
Whoa. Opening today? We didn't go from opening in 100 days to opening today. What are you talking about?
Opening in 100 days.
Yes, we're not at 100 days now. That was only 3 days.
Oh, okay.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some crazy math.
What?
Now, thinking about it, in terms of coasters you haven't done there yet, of course, Steel Vengeance, but what are the 54-inch coasters at Cedar Point?
Well, to start off with, there's Raptor,
Uh-huh.
and to end off with,
Yeah.
Bravery.
That's it. So there's truly only 2 coasters there that you haven't done, which is crazy because you think about a park like Carowinds, it's pretty much every coaster there that you haven't done yet since they have so many 54-inch coasters.
They're only like
All right.
three.
That aren't.
Yeah.
So a lot of Cedar Point fans excited about now being in the double digits for the opening of the park. Continue on with our Missouri trip. We drove west from New York on a Thursday night and drove as far west as we could, and that landed us near Columbus, where we stayed in a hotel that night. We'll talk more about Columbus in the next episode about Ohio. On Friday morning, we left really early and were able to have lunch at a pretty convenient place heading west from there. Where did we have our lunch?
Kings Island.
Kind of cool when you have dining plans in your travel throughout the country that you're able to stop at places for meals. A lot of times when we're coming back from New Jersey, heading to upstate New York, we'll stop at Dorney Park to get lunch and maybe jump on a ride, that kind of thing. We went to Kings Island where we got our lunch and then a quick ride on one ride we did.
Mystic Timbers.
Mystic Timbers, which we'll talk more about next week. So the fact that we knew we were going to be at Kentucky Kingdom for 2 days, we didn't necessarily need to get there super early, get there at opening. And we knew that on a Friday, it probably wasn't going to be that busy, especially because school was already in that area. So this was the last week that they were open during weekday hours. So it worked out pretty well to get there kind of early afternoon-ish at Kentucky Kingdom. They had an incredible deal. For this year, it's $39.99, which is just such a great deal. So for that amount of money, you get 2 days of tickets and free drinks for both days if you live out of state. So it's such an incredible deal to try to get people there. And who knows how many more years they'll be able to have that plan. So if you are thinking about going to Kentucky Kingdom, that's an impossible deal to pass up. That is just incredible. Such great value. So I definitely recommend it. And if you do like water parks, and we know a lot of people in the coaster enthusiast community don't, if you do like water parks, absolutely you can do 2 days there. It is worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Oh, what's that?
Free drinks, impossible to pass up.
Impossible. Our longest line of the day that day on Friday was actually to purchase the tickets. It took us about 12 minutes because people have to...
Hours.
Minutes?
Hours.
To show your out-of-state ID, which you need. So that takes a little bit longer. And once we got inside, Tom was waiting just inside, ready for us. So it's an interesting design. It's a little weird, awkward if you're not familiar with the park, where it's split into those 2 sections.
Yeah, one's the, bridge section that goes over the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And then one is just the left section.
The left section?
Yeah, just...
What's left is what you're saying?
Yeah, it just goes left.
It goes left?
And the other one goes right.
It goes left and right?
Yeah.
Funny, I don't remember that. That is the talk of a crazy person.
Well, it does.
So you've got about a quarter of the park on the one side where the entrance is, and about 3/4 of the park on the other side, where you either have to cross a bridge or cross the street with a walkway where there are a number of guards there. On both days, it was kind of interesting. We saw workers right on the road there near where the bridge was. You remember that?
Yeah, and somebody was going into a manhole.
Yeah, into a manhole. So there was some speculation that Tom thought that maybe at some point they might build a tunnel, being able to eliminate those jobs of the crossing guards who have to be there at all hours. An interesting possibility there. So we headed over to Thunder Run first. Do you remember what Thunder Run was?
Oh, that was... No?
The Hurler clone?
Oh,
the mirror
Hurler.
image of
yeah,
Hurler?
it was the Hurler clone.
Yes, that's the one. And they've done a lot of track work after that park was closed for a number of years, after Six Flags abandoned the park. And one of the things I loved about it was the crew. The crew there was great. There was an African-American gentleman. He was probably in his early to mid-20s, something like that. And he was joking with everybody, talking with specific people in the line, because there weren't really many people in the station. And when you have someone who's having that much fun and talking to people and interacting, just makes a big difference. So that was kind of cool. So what did you think of the ride?
It was Hurler, so it was not great.
But did you think it was the same smoothness as Hurler from Carowinds?
No, Hurler from Carowinds is a lot smoother. a lot.
That's right. You
smoother.
think I didn't think so at all. I thought this was really smooth.
It rattled my head up so much.
Oh, in Kentucky, your head got rattled?
Yes.
Oh gosh. See, I thought I remembered it was pretty smooth. Because didn't we do it twice in a row that day?
No.
We just did it the one time?
Yeah.
And that was it? Okay. I know this off-season they're doing a lot more track work, so maybe if we did go back, your head would be a lot better with it. So that's one of the things they're doing this off-season. So I liked it. I thought it was fine. The fact that it has a little bit more trees in that area, I thought made it a little bit more interesting.
Free drinks are possible to pass up.
They still are. Yes, that's a great point. We went over to the Flying Dutchman next. Do you remember that ride?
Oh, that was the shoe ride.
Yes. The bizarre multicolored shoes. Well, each shoe was a different color. And wasn't that the ride where it took like about 12 minutes to break? Where they slow it down and it just takes forever for them to stop it?
Yeah, and then it does
It drops, right?
It drops.
It was like the shortest drop ride in the world where it stops and then you drop like a foot.
So it's 2 rides in one, so I can count 2 credits.
Exactly, 2 flat ride credits. But that's one of Tom and his wife's favorite rides, and it was just adorable, and it was fun to do. So from there, we headed back to Storm Chaser, which is a bit of the walk, heading from there to the back of the park. And that's where you've got that awkward space in between Thunder Run and Storm Chaser, where the top Eliminator drag race used to be. And so you see kind of the old concrete, long...
This is the part of Kentucky Kingdom that they need to improve on. Like those weird spaces of blacktop or stuff like that, where they just need to either put something there or make it a little bit prettier, like with a couple fountains or something. Because that just, it either looks weird.
Right, that's what they had a wall up and there were signs, pardon our appearance, and you feel like that beautification will happen. It's just going to take them a little bit of time. The amount of money they just had to put into refurbishing rides, getting new rides, and already putting some landscaping in, which certainly has started. It just takes a while. So I think they'll get there, but certainly that is a bit of an eyesore, that whole area. So a number of our friends warned us about the end of Storm Chaser, that it was a little bit painful, that the airtime was kind of brutal. So not much of Twisted Twins, their dueling CCI, remains at all. They just had a little bit of the wood that they reused. And so you had this awkward station. Do you remember the station of Storm Chaser? What was odd?
Lined up weird.
Yeah, good memory. So it was just odd where the gates opened, then did not correlate at all to where you had to walk to.
Yeah, like the second row would be where the third row is.
So
where it would...
The first, right? Like, yeah.
So...
You had to walk up a notch,
yeah,
right?
like the gates would be in a different order. So, like, the first gate would be a little bit behind the first car.
So, yeah, and that was a little weird. So they painted arrows on the floor of the station to show you kind of where you have to go.
Free tricks, impossible to pass up.
That's a great point. You gotta love those free drinks. So on the lift hill, you get a view of the urban landscape there, and it's not necessarily in the prettiest section of town, but your view is not too much of a concern because right off the bat, you had that interesting first drop, the barrel roll first drop.
Yeah.
Now, did you like it?
They're
as opposed to
interesting. They're not intense. They're coming to a couple more of the new coasters.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's nothing special. It's on Gatekeeper 2.
So it was just, okay, something a little bit different and interesting. But certainly Wicked Cyclone's first drop is a lot more intense, which is weird because it's such a short drop. After that, you've got that very intense airtime hill at a pretty fast speed, which was great. That overbank left turn is a lot of fun. You've got that quick left-right, which is a small little touch, which I love from RMC. A little nice subtle touch. The second half, though, loses a lot of speed, and it tends to be a lot slower. You've got that corkscrew that is a lot of fun, and then some turn and...
Bank turns.
Yeah, bank turns and the small airtime hills that you had there. So it just kind of meanders around. And now, so did that section bother your legs at all? Do you remember?
It bothered parts of my body, but no, it didn't bother my legs specifically.
I thought at times it was a bit uncomfortable there towards the end, more so than Sky Rush, which doesn't bother me at all, but still was fun. You could see that after doing it 4 or 5 times in a row that it could be painful. Some people talk about having bruises on the legs, so I thought it was still a fun ride. I'm sure a lot better than Twisted Twins was, and a cool ride, not one of necessarily our favorite RMCs, but does it have to be? Did you like the ride overall?
Yeah, I liked it. I feel like if Kentucky Kingdom gets a lot more of those rides, not specifically RMCs, but a lot more good coasters,
That
then
quality.
they could have a really good chance of succeeding for a long time.
Absolutely. It's a great addition, and it's interesting because they do have some landscaping right in the area of the station where they've got some young shrubbery and some trees. But within the ride, if you remember, inside the ride itself, there are like the old concrete footers that are crumbling and the concrete that's sort of falling apart. That it just doesn't look great.
Gross.
It is, but again, over time, that will be something that they improve. The beautification isn't all something they can do at once.
Yeah, and I thought there are some passages in Kentucky Kingdom that are like closed off, which are kind of weird. And I feel like either they should open it up or just like completely get rid of it and like put a flower garden there or something.
Yeah, maybe over time there'll be some reconfiguration of paths as new rides are created and things change up, so I agree. Well, after that, heading back, we finally convinced Alex to try his first Larson Looper. He'd been hesitant so far about doing one because of being held at the top for too long, which kind of makes him nervous, although he loves looping coasters, so that's kind of weird. Eye of the Storm there, which we wound up doing, and it had, ironically, the longest pause that we've ever had, right?
Something I gotta tell you guys about this. Get ready. Free drinks, impossible to pass up.
What? Why didn't you inform them of that, dude?
No, right?
Holy cow. That's a really good point about that Larson Looper.
Yeah.
All right. Which you need a free drink after being held upside down so long. So the operator there who can control the whole ride cycle, they have a joystick and can keep it upside down as long as they want. He really seemed to relish it and enjoy it. So after that, I needed a break. After being held upside down that long, to me, it's worse than a spinning ride almost. But Alex liked it. I think he enjoyed it and we'll do one again. So the boys rode the Bella Musica carousel next, which is kind of a work of art. It's definitely on the older side and had some nice artistic qualities to it. And that was where we talked about the spinning gondola in our Ride of the Week a couple of episodes ago. You were in the spinning gondola on that.
Yeah, there were two. There's a rocking chair and then like a spinning circle.
A spinning circle, which is kind of interesting. So you're spinning sort of twice, the whole carousel and then within that actual gondola there. That's in, I think, one of the prettiest sections of the park there, where it's wooded. You've got a little creek, which led to our next ride after that, which was the roller skater. And to me, I think that's one of the best junior coasters that there is.
Yeah, and it was a really weird rule where you had to have a parent with you to ride it.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, if you were under a certain height.
Yes.
Or probably not you guys, so.
We had to ride with an adult.
You did?
Yes.
At your a gigantic height, you still did?
Yeah.
Wow, that was crazy.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. Is there something you want to say about drinks?
Free drinks, impossible to pass up.
Yes, so don't do that. After that, we headed by the water park to the giant wheel, which was 150 feet tall, and sometimes it's nice to get a view of the area by doing a Ferris wheel. Do you remember doing the giant wheel?
Yes. Yes, I do.
It was kind of tall. I liked it. It was some pretty views.
Yeah,
and it's nice when you don't have to wait in line for it, so...
Yeah, and Tom had been telling us some stuff like, oh, over there's that blah, blah, blah building.
Yeah. Because you could see some of the Louisville campus from there,
yep.
And the stadium, which I think was Papa John Stadium.
Papa John.
Yes, and a couple other things. So it needs to get a tour of the city from up there. Well, we had our dinner next at that taco place in the water park near the wheel, which was the Taco Tequila place. And that's where we were talking to the bartender a little bit, and she gave you the cup. Little plastic cups that we were able to get. And it was air conditioned in there, which was pretty nice. And I thought the food there was pretty good, actually. And did we get any beverages to drink when we were in that bar?
I got whiskey.
Whoa! Also known as free fountain beverages, because don't you get free drinks there when you're in out of state?
As long as you're 2 and above. If you're 2 and older, then you can have free soft drinks. Or free soft drinks. Free beer.
Free beer. Oh,
yeah.
That's the Kentucky law over too? I don't think I remember that, but I think I do remember you being able to buy a soft drink, because when you buy that out-of-state ticket, you get free drinks, right? Isn't that the rule? Which you can't pass up?
No. Yes.
No, yes. Okay, that was helpful. So we went back across the bridge after that to the front of the park, that little smaller section. And that's where they have a ton of kids' rides that we didn't do any of those. But we did ride the Tin Lizzies, their car ride there. Do you remember how silly that ride was?
Yeah, there were random
Random
farm animals.
It wasn't like even, I don't know.
There was no theme.
It was just like little plastic cows and other things. Wasn't there even a dinosaur at one point? A little dinosaur which didn't fit in with the farm animals? I don't know. But they're cute, and the fact that you and Alex both got to drive. Yep. So that was kind of silly and fun. So then, our next coaster, and this was the surprise, I think, maybe, of the whole trip.
Kiddie coaster?
Well, the kiddie coaster was the roller skater that you needed a parent. So our last new coaster of the day, Lightning Run. What do you remember about the ride experience from Lightning Run?
I remember that it was a really good coaster. I feel like it's kind of like Sky Rush with its intensity and lowness to the ground with a couple pop-up airtime hills and bank turn here and there.
Yeah, very good. At only 100 feet tall, it's amazing how good and intense the ride is.
Yeah.
The first drop was excellent, plenty of airtime. There are just so many fun maneuvers. Excellent airtime hills, a lot of quick back and forth, almost like a mini I-305 with that, or Maverick in that way. Not to that extent, but almost like that. And so when we were finished, I said to Tom, and I think a lot of people expressed the same thought, is why aren't there more of those built? Those Chance Morgan rides. I don't think they're that expensive. They're pretty compact, and it just seems like it's such a great coaster. And with how many people have ridden it, you would think that other parks would have gotten the idea to build one too. So we rode that twice and really enjoyed it, especially in the back.
Yeah.
So just surprising that others don't exist yet. Because already that's getting on half a decade old, so surprised you don't see more.
I would also think it's kind of nice not to have so many clones. It's usually nice to have a coaster that's just one of a kind.
Yeah, which is nice. It's true. To say that that's one of the few Chance Morgans you can do, I guess makes Kentucky Kingdom a little special, but just surprised that others haven't been built. We went over to Bluebeard's Bounty, which is right in the corner there. A swinging ship ride, and it's just weird. In that area, do you remember there's some of the old theming from the Six Flags park? Just weird structures, and it just feels so out of place and awkward, and that's some, again, of that beautification that they'll eventually change.
They're like tall columns.
Yeah, columns, exactly. Yeah, random columns that just kind of made no sense.
And then a treasure chest.
And that's where we took a picture with Tom that we'll put up on our Facebook and Twitter page of that. But yeah, just kind of odd. And then we were standing, it was the weirdest interaction. And we were standing in that area. Remember they had a map there on a board or something like that we were checking out? And one of the ride-ups came over and said, "You can't stand there." And we were just on a path in the park looking at a sign, and we were told we had to move from being in the park, not behind a fence or anything, so that was a little odd. Well, then after that, you did the Fear Fall drop with Tom. At that point, Alex didn't do it yet because he's, at that point, was still a little nervous about drop towers. Now he would do it in a heartbeat. So I waited with Alex. What did you think?
This is one of those drop towers that's really short, but it's one of the best because it's so intense.
And so I think it might have even been the same model as another one that you've done multiple times. That's also short and intense. Do you remember where that was?
Knoebels. Oh, one other thing that was kind of weird about this drop tower is free drinks and possible to pass up.
What? At the drop tower they serve drinks?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they had like lemonade and Gatorade.
Wow. That's very nice of them. Super thoughtful. So that ended day one, and we left at that point to meet Tom's wife Kelly and have some ice cream in an adorable little suburb of Louisville.
It's the best ice cream. It's the best ice cream I've ever had.
Are you serious?
Yes.
It was that good?
So good.
Yeah, it was pretty good gourmet ice cream. On day two, we got there just before opening, and that was a Saturday. And boy, it was much busier. The lines to get in were longer, and so we headed straight to the water park before things got crazy. And that whole section looks so much better than the dry park, wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
They've got a lot of new buildings, fresh landscaping. If you actually look on the Google map right now, you can see it in transformation, that a lot of the water park wasn't built yet and how much was actually changed in that area, that the water park took over some of the dry park. And so the water park is very new and looks super nice. So our first ride, and we knew this would generally get the longest lines, we headed over to the Deluge water coaster before there was any line. And it was fun, right?
Yeah, it's basic.
Well, and the problem is, compared to Holiday World's water coasters, it's nothing special, but still a fun ride. And when you can get right to it, walk up the stairs and get right on, it makes it a great ride compared to having to wait a long time for it. And that's going to be the theme here. Early on, it really was quiet, and we didn't really have many lines for anything. We did the Mega Wedgie Bowl. Again.
Wedgie?
Yeah, did it give you one?
Didn't give me a wedgie.
No, because you're sitting on a tube. Why would you get a wedgie on it?
Then why does it say wedgie?
I don't know. They wanted to be funny, I guess. So again, no line. Best time to do it. We did Plummet Summit, which is a dark family raft ride. It looks great. That was the one with the terrific colors that were like purple, blue, and yellow. And that was fun. We did Kilauea, which was their bunch of new tube rides, single and double. I think for the most part you did single.
Yes.
But sometimes, no, you went with Alex.
No, I went with Alex all the time.
All the time, and I did single? Okay. Yep. So that looked really nice. And they had even one that had a lot of the mini funnels where you kind of go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
We did Tornado, their funnel slide. Again, no line, so that was perfect. The big surf wave pool area looked really nice. We didn't do it, but that whole area looks nice.
It was really cold, though.
It was kind of chilly. That is true. And if you remember, towards the end of us being there, that's when they had that little accident where someone got sick. Do you remember? So the bunch of older slides that it's connected to was closed down, and then the wave pool got closed down. So, yeah, that was kind of nasty, I guess, for some people. If you remember, before we were done, we also did 2 dry park water rides in our bathing suits, which is kind of what we like to do. If we're going to do wet rides in a park, it's kind of nice to be able to have your bathing suit on. So we did the Mile High Falls first. That's the one that was back by Storm Chaser, their Shoot the Chutes ride. And do you remember the water on that one?
It was freezing.
Oh my gosh, it was so cold. It was mind-numbing cold. But still fun, and I like that ride when I have a bathing suit on. Hate it if you have clothes on, so that worked out well for me. And then we did the Raging Rapids River ride, which is kind of a boring name for a ride that deserves a much more interesting name. And what do you remember about the theming on that?
It was Batman themed.
Yeah, Penguin's Blizzard River. And I would have loved to have done that in the heyday when it was Six Flags, to see all those things working. Because it looks cool. It still looks cool today with a lot of interesting rock work and penguin statues all over the place. But almost none of that theming works anymore. And this was a ride that they opened a little bit later than when the park reopened. It took them a while to get this ride back up. So I thought that was kind of a nice ride. And again, nice that we had our bathing suits on. But you needed to have shoes on, if you remember. Some people who came from the water park were in bare feet, and they had to walk all the way back because they didn't have their shoes on. So if you're going to do that, when you go to Kentucky Kingdom, make sure you have footwear. So now, we knew it was time. Time for the big boy.
Yeah, you didn't...
Whoa. No accusations here. No, nothing like that. The last water slide of the day.
No, water slides.
Slides, there were multiple ones. Well, I know I had fear in my eyes just looking up. That was crazy. So
then you should have looked down when I was up there.
I can't imagine. So we walked up the stairs to Wave Runner and Deep Water Dive. Thankfully, Alex only wanted to do the Wave Runner. And I think, the Wave Runner had a shorter height requirement on it. I don't even remember. Did you ever do the blue one?
No, I didn't.
You never even did it. You didn't even get to. All right. And so, as we were walking up, and these are the 2 famous slides that they have. The blue one, which is sort of a triple hump slide, and then the famous Deep Water Dive, which is one of the tallest.
Tallest.
Well, it was the tallest. I think the one at Volcano Bay now just beat it by like 5 feet. But
No.
so, okay, no. Andrew knows, and it didn't. Okay, so when we got to the top of Wave Runner, and thankfully Alex at that point wasn't 48 inches, so we couldn't do Deep Water Dive. That's the only reason I didn't do it, Andrew.
No,
I had to stay with Alex.
because you were scared.
I had to stay with Alex.
You didn't do it because you were
Who
scared.
would have watched little Alex? Tom wasn't there that day, so I had to watch him.
No, you were scared.
I was being a good parent.
You were scared.
Okay, so we did Wave Runner twice, and then we waited because you had a much longer line for Deep Water Dive.
And for me, it looked like it Well, when we were going up the steps, it looked like it took a day.
Okay, so it took you a long time.
So long to
All right,
get up there.
so walk us through the whole experience. As you left us, you kept walking up and up. Go. What were you feeling? What were you seeing? How did you feel about the whole
My feet
thing?
were wet, and I was going upstairs.
Okay. Your feet were wet, so the stairs
Yes.
were wet. That's riveting.
Yeah.
All right, so you got to the top platform, and then when you got up there, were you looking around? Were you looking at all the buildings?
They had the heartbeat
Oh, they did. Only in the capsule or outside the capsule.
outside.
Oh, they
You
did.
could hear it both.
Okay, you could hear it both.
Yeah.
All right. And so when you were on it, did you see anyone walk of shame because of being scared? Did you see anyone walk back down?
No.
No. Okay, so that's impressive.
But the ride operator, like when they were in the capsule, he said, "Are you scared? Do you want to get out?"
He said that to you.
No,
to
he
everyone.
said that to everyone.
But no one said yes.
No.
All right. You're next in line. The person drops, and how are you feeling at that point?
My heart is beating a lot fast, but, I'm a daredevil. I don't get scared.
Would you say you were more nervous on Deepwater Dive the first time or Zoom and Jar the first time?
Ooh.
It's a tough call,
I
right?
don't get scared.
Okay. So you got in. There's a countdown, 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
It opens up, and what did that drop feel like?
So intense.
Okay.
And then those 2 hills. Ugh, wow.
2 hills?
Yeah, the 2 hills.
What hills?
Like, you would go over and around, and free drinks, impossible to pass out.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So the hills and the free drinks were all on the Deepwater Dive slide.
Yes.
Okay.
It's so, and the drop is so fast and intense. It's crazy.
Did you feel like you were going to fly off the slide at any point?
No.
No, you felt... So you would do it 100 times more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Now, would you say it's your favorite water slide you've ever done?
Sure. Yeah.
Would you say it's your favorite water ride you've ever done? Would you put it above Mammoth and Wildebeest?
That's a whole different story.
Okay, you can't even compare them, was what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thrill compared to longer enjoyment and being with other people, so
Yeah.
can't compare them. Okay. So that was the end of our day. What a cool way to end it with Fearless Andrew tackling Deepwater Dive. And I just hope that we don't ever go back with the rest of the family and I don't have anyone to watch so that I would be forced to do it.
You're gonna do it, dude.
We'll see. We might never drive through Kentucky again.
No,
Who
you're
knows?
gonna do it. You're gonna do it.
So we changed our clothes at that point and rode Storm Runner and Lightning Run one more time. And the boys rode the Cyclo Swinging Spinning Ride that goes upside down. So I didn't wind up doing it. What did you think? Did you like that element of it?
It was okay.
So you like Max Air better. You like the bigger ones that have much bigger pendulums than
Yeah.
going upside down.
It wasn't anything that special. Yeah, I'd prefer the regular ones.
Okay. So nothing special at all. So I didn't miss much.
No.
All right, so the rides that we didn't wind up doing at Kentucky Kingdom was T3, which a lot of people say those restraints are brutal. The first day, Tom was there, but Andrew didn't really want to do it since he doesn't love SLCs.
And I already did one.
And you've already done one, so we skipped out on that. Not that I wouldn't do that in the future, just to try it. We didn't do the 5D cinema and a couple other flat rides, but otherwise we pretty much got on everything that we wanted to do. So your overall thoughts on the park and its future then?
I think it's gonna do well. I hope it's gonna do well. And if they just keep getting more coasters and get more water slides, then they'll eventually make it.
It'll be interesting to see, and I agree, what they do with land. They don't have a ton of extra land, but if you remember, that's when we took pictures over by T3, that there were all those orange flags that they had, little markings on the ground, about possible future expansion, new rides, new electrical systems, that stadium they could potentially knock down back there, and there are other parking lots and other lots around that it's hard to tell who owns them, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to expand a lot more in the future. But I agree, it's great for the industry having a park like that come back, and I think that some beautification and some expansion, it'll just keep getting better. So early afternoon, we headed out, and that's when we drove to St. Louis for Six Flags St. Louis, in which we talked about a couple episodes ago. On to the ride of the day, and Andrew, you picked today's ride of the day, so what did you pick?
I picked, drumroll please, Backlot Stun Coaster.
Very nice, Backlot Stun Coaster, which...
Italian Job.
Yeah, originally the Italian Job, a movie you haven't seen about stealing Mini Coopers and a whole huge chase scene, which this was supposed to mirror. What 3 parks have Backlot Stunt Coaster again?
So, one is Canada's Wonderland,
Canada's Wonderland, okay.
King's Dominion,
King's Dominion.
and King's Island.
King's Island, okay. So King's Island and Canada's Wonderland, they got theirs first in 2005. King's Dominion got theirs in 2006. And when Paramount owned all of those, that's when they made it the Italia job. When the parks were sold, they needed to change some of the theming, take some stuff out. But for the most part, it looked pretty similar to how it looked originally. And sadly, a lot of the theming has stopped working. Which of the 3 had the least theming working? Do you remember?
I would have to say Canada's Wonderland.
Exactly. Now, some people who are at the park said because of their extreme cold temperatures, that's what hurt a lot more of the theming that was operating. So whether that's accurate or not, who knows?
And the most works at King's Dominion, and sometimes they even will get the fire. I've seen the fire.
Oh, sure. And you can actually feel it on your face, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're sitting in the front there. The Premier Coaster, I think, is a great potential first launch coaster for kids. One of the others that's definitely less intense would be found at Dollywood. You remember which launch coaster there would actually be the best for young kids? It's been a while since you've been at Dollywood. It has a shed full of fireworks.
Oh,
Backlot Stunt Coaster at Dollywood. Yeah, they stole the name and the ride with fireworks.
So that's that. Oh.
Fire Chaser Express.
Fire Chaser Express.
Express?
Express.
Yeah, and so that has a smaller height requirement than Backlot. So if you get to Dollywood, that's a great option for a first launch coaster. But otherwise, I think that Backlot is not a bad second option.
No.
What do you think of the launch?
It's good. You get that intense feeling in your stomach.
No, absolutely. So it's not a kiddie coaster, I wouldn't say.
It's good for starters. And the first time I rode Backlot Stunt Coaster, I said to myself, wow, King Ducat and Top Thrill Dragster's launch must be so intense.
Right, if that is nothing in comparison, how crazy must those feel? And now you know Top Thrill, which we'll talk about next week. So after that launch, you go into that upward helix, and that's pretty intense.
Yeah, Melissa grayed out.
Yeah, always says she kind of grays out a little bit. I feel a little bit in my head, but I don't necessarily gray out at all. But I could see how some people do. Then you go through that section where you go through the police cars, do a couple of S-turns through the police cars. The lights on the cop cars used to work. I don't think
they do at King's Dominion.
Okay, at King's Dominion they still work. All right. Then you loop back around, and then you come to the famous helicopter scene.
Yes.
Some of them, maybe only one of the 3 has the music. I think they do the Ride of the Valkyries, if you remember. Da 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 da.
For King's Dominion, it does the helicopter and the music.
Yep.
So it does a shoot. And like I said, sometimes it does the fire.
Sometimes does the fire, the barrels move a little bit,
yes.
There's the explosion, and yeah, a lot of theming throughout the 3 rides does not work anymore, so that's kind of sad. After that, one of my favorite sections where you head into the tunnel, and you've got darkness for about, I'd say, 6-7 seconds.
Yeah.
And the first time you do that ride, that could be a little scary, having no idea where you're going. It's pretty dark in there.
Yeah, once you do it a couple times, you can kind of memorize it.
And thankfully, it's not that intense in the tunnel. The turns that exist, so there's no bracing that you have to do. You explode out of that sign, and that's kind of a cool thing where they have a sign where the cars come out of, like you're crashing through a sign like in a movie. And then I don't even know if any of the parks anymore, the splashdown actually works, the fountains.
Yes, King's Dominion.
At King's Dominion as well, it still works. And then you're done. So a cute ride and a good choice for our ride of the day.
Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Yeah!
For our tip of the day for this week, we'll talk about park apps. And park apps are getting better and better as we go along, and they can be extremely helpful. A lot of parks will have a map on it, and you could do different overlays to it if you're looking just for bathrooms, if you're looking just for restaurants, the rides, and some of the apps, like at Cedar Point and others, will actually give you the best route to walk. So if it's a brand new park that you haven't been to and you're not quite sure which direction would be the quickest, you can click on that, and it'll actually take you on the path that you need to get get to your destination. So if you have a kid with an emergency who has to go to the bathroom, pop out the app, jump on that, and that helps you out. If you're hungry and not sure where to go, it'll give you all your options and which are the closest. So I think park apps are getting pretty good. Unfortunately, we know the ride time waits quite often on those apps can be really, really off, going in both directions if they're not updated all that quickly. But it can help you in terms of planning which rides you're going to do when, to still look at that wait time, as sometimes it's certainly accurate.
One more thing.
About what?
Free drinks. Impossible to pass up.
Where?
At Kentucky Kingdom.
At Kentucky Kingdom? Well, why didn't you mention that?
Well, because...
You don't want to keep things like that a secret. Come on, buddy.
Okay.
All right, let them know.
I'll tell you next time.
All right, thank you. So for our next episode, we'll be talking about OHIO for the first time in detail with some trips that we had to Kings Island and Cedar Point. So you'll definitely want to join us for that if you're an Ohio fan. Connected to that, we have our next TPF quest, our interactive question about what is your favorite Cedar Point coaster and why. We know a lot of people have different opinions about that. Some with their sentimental first that they've done, some with a milestone coaster, some because it's the most intense or thrilling, and some because of historical significance. So let us know what your favorite Cedar Point coaster is and why. We'll have a post on Facebook and Twitter that you can respond to at Theme Park Fam on Facebook and at Twitter, so you can respond there. You can also send an email or an MP3. If you have an MP3 app on your phone, you can record that and send it in, and we'll play that on the air as well. And you can send those to themeparkfamilies@gmail.com. Also, subscribe and leave a nice review on iTunes if you're so inclined. That always helps with helping other people to find new podcasts. So thank you again to those who already have.
Free drinks. Impossible to pass up.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Andrew does his research. He knows every park's layout.
I never bury my head in a map. That's embarrassing. Andrew, out.
See you next time.